Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ILN Talk Show, a free space to discuss different developments in Muslim majority countries and beyond. This is our 13th episode, and we're very happy to have Miss Amel Azzouz with us. Miss Amel, welcome.
Thank you very much, Tasnim, and thank you for having me again with you in ILN.
Of course. Miss Amel Azzouz is actually a very good friend of the network. She was part of ILN in two conferences, international conferences, and she also participated in several workshops with the network. She's actually a PhD researcher in political economy, and she's a teacher of the English language and literature in the Tunisian University. She was also the Secretary of State in charge of international cooperation in Mr. Habib Assid coalition government, and also was a deputy at the Tunisian National Constituent Assembly. So today we're going to be talking about Tunisia and democracy in Tunisia. And before we start, I just wanted to remind everyone that the time that the citizens of the world in general have heard about Tunisia was when the Tunisian National Quartet won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2015 for, I quote, its decisive contribution to the building of a pluralistic democracy in Tunisia in the wake of the Jasmine Revolution of 2011. So, prior to the presidential measures of July 25th, 2021, when the parliament was frozen by a presidential decree, Tunisia has emerged as the only positive example in the Arab Spring process. What was different about Tunisia before the 25th of July, 2021?
Okay, thank you again. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think the moments of those moments, those rare moments of history, sometimes you cannot really explain them in a very rational way. But if you'd like to rationalize that moment, and we can rationalize it, we can see that lots of factors and elements contributed to setting up, if you want, that moment, that historical moment, very important historical moment, social and economic especially, and political as well. Let me start with the political, because that's quite, I think that's quite similar to many Arab and Muslim countries all over the world, and even developing countries all over the world, which is the lack of freedom and democracy. Freedom, either individual freedom or collective freedom, political freedom, different kinds of freedom. So freedom of speech, of expression, of belief, freedom of to manifest, etc. So I think that was very important. However, I do believe with Mohammed Bouazizi burning himself and immolating himself on that day because of his socio-economic and situation is very, very telling. So that was just the drop, which really which was a turning point, which turned everything upside down. Young people suffered of unemployment. I mean, very high rate of unemployment, marginalization. Let's say regional, what we call in Tunisia, regional marginalization, which are these are hinterlands which have always been excluded all over the history, the modern history of Tunisia, and that's especially the southern part and the western part, not the coastal part, of course, which were for decades and decades marginalized economically and socially marginalized, in addition, of course, to the unemployment of what you call the qualified students or young people with diplomas, with the university diplomas. Yeah. That was very, very important. These young people had their way to Facebook, to the social networks, and expressed themselves. That helped very, very much. So there was all of these elements together, which contributed to that particular moment.
But that
I
was
guess that
common.
this was important, Tasnim, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that was like the first part of the question. So that was common between all the countries that, witnessed what we call the Arab Spring. But then only Tunisia succeeded for 10 years or so. So what was different, with Tunisia compared to the other Arab Spring countries? And then we will get to, what happened in the 25th of July, 2021.
Okay, let me put it right. Tasnim, successful, and the question of success is very relative here.
Of course,
So,
yeah.
of course, if you compare what happened in Tunisia after 2012, for example, comparing to to countries of the Arab Spring, and I do call it Arab Spring because I do believe that something positive did happen in the Arab and Muslim world. So, success is relative. Because yes, in Tunisia, we did not have such a bloody conflicts like what we saw in Syria or in Egypt or in Yemen or elsewhere.
Yeah.
But we still had problems, which is, I think, very, very quite
Okay.
normal if you look at the human experiences and the experience of revolutions, or even, let's say, democratic transitions all over the world, either in Latin America or in Central Asia, or especially in Latin America and Eastern Europe. Central Asia maybe is a little bit different. We can see that in these experiences of transition, people go forward and then go backward. So they keep going forward and backward until things get settled at the end. In Tunisia, I think the factors or elements which contributed to having this relative success, first of all, the Tunisian society itself is quite homogeneous. We do not have
Okay.
lots of ethnic disparities or religious disparities. We had also, although things appear to be, or we appear to be wrong, the army didn't have any political role, any role in the
It was
political life.
neutral, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say a neutral army. Let's say a neutral army,
Compared to the
comparing
Egyptian
to,
army or the Syrian
yeah,
army, so quite
of
neutral.
course,
Yeah.
yes, comparing to the role the army plays in the other Arab world, in the Arab countries. In Tunisia, it has always been that. That's another question we can talk about
Mm-hmm.
it. Why the Tunisian army has always been so neutral. Another is let's say the political actors themselves. Okay, before the revolution, let's say 2005, something, yeah, for 2 or 3 years, the political class or the political elite, either leftist or Islamist or nationalists or liberals, they tried to come up together in a kind of agreement, let's say intellectual agreement on important matters, intellectual matters such as the freedoms, different human freedoms, freedom of speech, individual freedoms, the question of the relationship between religion and the state, or
Mm-hmm.
politics, and the equality between men and women. So they agreed on many questions, which afterwards they have facilitated things in the drafting of the social contract, which is the constitution.
Uh-huh.
So another, which is another, to be frank with you, another as a major political actor in Tunisia, or in the Tunisian political scene, was a little bit different. I mean what I say. I mean, the way they looked at democracy, the way they conceive of democracy, and the inclusion of the different parts within the democratic game was different. They had made lots of, let's say, readings and interpretation, new interpretation of democracy, of the
Mm-hmm.
human freedoms, the human rights, etc., the role of religion, the relationship between religion and politics, etc. So they had, even before the revolution,
Mm-hmm.
they had
Mm-hmm.
going through this kind of reviewing or revision of their thoughts long
Mm-hmm.
before the revolution. So this, I guess, helped a lot. All of these factors helped a lot in
Stabilizing the situation in
yeah,
Tunisia.
in pushing forward to some extent the process of transition, of political
Mm-hmm.
and democratic transition.
Okay, so these are according to you, some of the factors that led to Tunisia being different, somehow more stable than the rest of the Arab countries who witnessed, uprisings or revolutions. Now,
There is one very
yes,
important. I forgot it, Tasnim.
uh-huh.
To be frank and to be clear, let's be clear. Tunisia is
Yeah,
not
we have to
Egypt.
be honest, of course.
Tunisia is not Egypt, and Tunisia is not Syria, and Tunisia is not Yemen.
In what
So
way?
there are no strategic stakes. Okay, if you speak
Geopolitically
of the
speaking, you
stakes,
mean?
I
Geopolitically
mean
speaking.
let's say geopolitics position of
Uh-huh.
Tunisia is not
Okay.
that of Egypt or that of Syria.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
يعني strategically speaking, the stakes are different, are so different, are very, very
Mm-hmm.
different. So there are no real important geopolitical and strategic states regarding Tunisia. Of course, if you compare it again to those
Yeah.
other countries of the Arab Spring.
Okay, okay. All right. So now we're like in 2021, things are more or less stable, but then, Kais Said, became president. And who is this guy? He has never belonged to any political party. Does he even believe in the importance of, political parties or the importance of strengthening democracy? Because as far as we know, like the world knows of him as, a university professor, someone who ran against, a corrupt businessman. And that's why people wanted him, someone who is out of the picture. He's not a politician, and people wanted a new face. So what happened after that?
You're right, Tasneem, but let's not forget that Mr. Said has always, yes, he has never been in a political party, but he has always had his own political ideas. This is
Mm-hmm.
something people forget. He expressed these ideas long before he presented his candidature. So he does not believe in representative democracy, and he has always said that. He said it, but people did not pay attention to that.
They were
Um,
busy wanting him to win against the other corrupt businessman. Is that what
that, that,
happened?
that that was another, no, in the first round, no, that was not the idea. That was in the second round, because you remember in the first round there were many other candidates, such as Mr. Muru, for example,
Yes.
or many others.
But he was ahead of them anyway.
Sorry?
Even in the first round, Qais Said was ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, but still, people had other choices. They had choices in front of them.
Okay.
In the second round, they had no other choice but choosing him.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, you know, that he was competing with Mr. Qarwi and Mr. Nabil Qarwi, and everybody knows Mr. Qarwi was involved in corruption, matters, and so people wanted someone really not involved in corruption. And
Okay.
Mr. Saeed presented or represented that profile of a man who is not corrupt and who is apolitical, between inverted commas. This is the impression or the perception, because in politics, you know, perception matters a lot. And the
Yeah.
perception people had of Mr. Saeed is that he doesn't belong to a party, and people at a given moment people got fed up with parties, okay, and with the performance of parties. And he gave the idea of being clean, if you want, a clean personality. And
Yes.
people at that given moment of history of the period of this recent period, they got fed up of let's say rumors, and maybe rumors, maybe also real stories of people, of politicians getting involved in corruption.
Scandals and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. So he was sort of salvation for people. Okay, so
Okay. A
especially
strong word.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
especially that he ran against Mr. Qarwi, as I told you, and Mr. Qarwi was very much he used media to clean himself and to clean his
Yeah, he
deeds. He
had his
has
own channel. Yeah.
yes, and he has very dubious,
Mhm.
let's say how can I say, relationships and networks even outside Tunisia.
Yes. Okay,
Uh,
when Qais Said became president, things were settled down for some time. Then COVID hit, and things were not really looking good, especially in the parliament. A lot of, quarrels literally taking place in the parliament. People were not happy. Just tell us a little bit about that period of time, because that was
yes,
when, the tensions were
I,
escalating.
I think me as a politician, of course, I was not satisfied, and I was looking with, I was afraid, to be frank with you, especially at the end, especially from 2019 upwards. Things were getting worse and worse. Before
Mm-hmm.
that, I think the transition was going in a very normal, between inverted commas, process. With positive things, with positive achievements and milestones, and with shortages, like every other experience in the
That's
world, as I
right.
told you.
Yeah.
However, from 2019, because of يعني the elections of 2019 fragmented the parliament, and this is, Tasnim, this is due to the electoral law itself, which
Yes.
doesn't give any political party majority and clear
Majority.
majority in the parliament. Yes, the parliament they used the same electoral law which has been used to elect or to vote for the assembly, national assembly, which was
Yeah.
different. For a
So
national,
let me ask you about that, because you were part of those who drafted the constitution. What were you thinking, you and your colleagues, before when you drafted that law, not allowing a majority to win? Were you just, probably afraid of what happened in the Ben Ali regime?
no, the electoral law itself was first chosen to have a very, very, very representative assembly, so that the constitution, that was in 2011, so that
Yes.
the constitution represented and reflected every single, let's say, the spectrum, the political spectrum in the country. However, the political balances afterwards dictated or made that the same law was kept or should be kept. Okay, so that, because the political actors wouldn't like, for example, in Nahda, to be if they reform the electoral law, this would give the opportunity for one or two big parties to be majoritarian. And
Yes.
what is the party which was much more which had the opportunity to be really majoritarian because it is organized, and that was another. So the other players, the other actors, political actors, were afraid that the Nahda would be again dominating the political scene, and especially the parliament. So they kept it the way it is.
That's
So
why we had coalition governments all the time.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why we usually have this coalition government, and that's why also things got worse after the elections of 2019. And that's why also we saw a representative of the old regime coming back again to the political scene, and they played a very, very nasty role in sullying the image of the center of democracy, which is the parliament. So sullying and let's say destroying this image and showing it to people as the origin of all the evils.
Yeah.
That was one of the if you want, the stakes on which the representative of the old regime, sort of fascist, I dare call it a fascist party. They
So we're
really
just trying to, explain
yes,
to our viewers who are not Tunisians, what happened. So we had like daily quarrels, literally, in the parliament.
yeah,
Laws were not being passed. Nothing was actually happened. No work has been done. Only, like, tension.
yes,
And
yes,
that's why, what happened with Qais later, when he
yes,
introduced his measures to
yes,
to freeze the
yes,
parliament, he appeared as a savior, and people
Yes,
liked it because they thought that, the parliament needs to be shut,
yes,
forgetting that the parliament is a democratic and a democratic
absolutely,
institution that needs to be there all the
absolutely,
time, regardless of people who are there. So
absolutely,
yeah, so let's
absolutely.
just
They
now talk about
they
the
show no, no.
measures that were taken.
Yeah, yeah. I can tell your audience that Tunisian people see or continue to see people sleeping, bringing their I don't know their things and sleeping within the assembly. People
Yeah,
wearing helmets. People I don't know shouting all the time. People fighting all the time. We saw the president of the parliament being, how can I say, insulted time and again, all the time. So there
and he
was
was
a very
passive as well, did not take action.
yes, but at the same time, what people didn't see at Tasnim is that there were commissions trying to work. There were really deputies who were really unhappy and unsatisfied of what was going on, and
Yeah.
they tried to continue playing the role they were elected for and what they were chosen for. Don't forget, in addition to that, because of that situation, a very, very bad situation in the parliament, also governments were reshuffled time and again, time and again.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Mhm.
they keep players. I mean, or parties within the parliament who have the majority. They keep changing and reshuffling governments in a way that would never let, for example, reforms to take root, never, or
Okay.
no program was able to take root or to
Yes.
to
Yes.
to be realized and achieved
Mhm.
in such a situation.
Okay, so July 25th, 2021, Qais Said made a speech and he froze.
I'm sorry, Tasneem,
Yeah.
don't forget that Mr. Said, he had the ability by law to put an end to violence taking place in the parliament.
Mhm.
I mean, he was the chief of the forces of the presidential forces, which
Yeah.
were responsible also of the order within the parliament, and he could have, and he should have put an end by law to what was going on. But it was he wanted to people, or he wanted the parliament to have this picture or this image within the consciousness of people, so that people continue refusing anything which has relation to democracy. Anything which democracy brought was in
Yes.
the imagination of people something negative.
Okay. So he basically wanted to appear the savior, and he had that, and people were
Yeah.
celebrating on that day. And then, he promised, to fight corruption, and then a referendum took place 1 year later, 25th of July, 2022, last summer, and it was actually approved. Like a new constitution is being drafted, and it's all about centralizing the presidential executive control, while removing checks from the legislative and judicial branches. Any comments on the circumstances of the referendum and what happened during that period of time?
Simply, Mr. Said come out and told people, look, these deputies and these politicians and these representatives of what they call democracy are all corrupt, and these are all people who are failures. They are unable to do anything to this
He
country.
has the
They
tendency to
are
curse everyone all the time. He's
sorry.
known for that. He's known for always, like in his speeches, he's always blaming others, literally cursing others, and that's
Yes.
the whole speech, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
cursing these actors for what happened in the country and for their inability to change and to bring prosperity to the country, etc., etc., and for being robbers and for being thieves and for being corrupt. All of them, all of them. So, of course, the answer to such a gloomy, to such a negative image is taking power altogether. What you call the power grab. There was a power grab. So, in the
Yeah.
name of people, I am allowed now, because people at a given moment in 2019 they chose me with a relative
Overwhelming
majority.
majority.
Yes. So, at the name of people, I am allowed, and he has a certain interpretation, a wrong interpretation of Article 80, which allowed exceptional
Measures to be taken.
rule, or exceptional rule. So, at the name of exceptional rule, he had this power grab, and from that moment on, he himself is allowed to choose everything. He is the legislator, and he is the executor, and he is the judge. So the judiciary power, the legislative power, the executive power, he is ruling by presidential decrees for 1 year and a half. No dialogue, no representation, no democracy, no free instances, no civil society,
Do you think
nothing.
that the referendum, it was like
Yeah.
a fake one? Like it was not, you don't believe in the accuracy
First
of the
of all,
results?
the referendum, he used the state apparatus in order to mobilize people, because there was kind of indifference and total indifference vis-a-vis, but he made efforts, a huge efforts, mobilizing state apparatus in order to make it succeed. He prepared the content of the referendum himself, by himself. At the beginning, he asked people to help him, but at the end it was him and only him who chose everything.
What
And
kind of
then
people?
and
Like
then people who
lawyers and
before the
specialists?
coup before the coup
Yeah. No, to help
elections
him
and
draft the new constitution.
sorry.
You said he asked people to help him draft the new constitution, and then he wanted
Yeah.
to do it himself?
Yes.
Okay.
And even the question, Tasnim, even the question of the referendum, who prepared them? Was there any social dialogue? Was there any political dialogue? Was there any kind of dialogue at the end of which, for example, we have this list of things people are asked to put or to give their opinion about? There was nothing of this. He only
Okay.
did everything, and even at the level of the execution of the referendum itself. Before 2019, we had the Supreme Independent Commission for Elections, which of course, he dissolved. He dissolved the High Commission for Judges, the High Commission for Elections, and he appointed people. He appointed, I underline this word, before that they were elected in the parliament with Mr.
But
Said.
yeah, but
Yes,
had we
he
had the
appointed them.
constitutional court, this would have never happened.
Yes,
But that was the
yes.
mistake of those who came before
If
him.
you if you asked me, but you still haven't asked me yet, who's responsible, which is a very, very big question, Tasneem. Who's responsible of the outcomes of why we are here? So, Mr. Said, certainly he's not the only to be blamed. He is not the only
Yeah.
to be blamed. I'm certain, I'm a politician, and I do believe that somewhere the political players and political actors, the political class, they failed in protecting democracy. I dare saying they failed in protecting their democracy. Maybe, I don't know if you'd like me to continue talking about the referendum, or shall I start answering
No,
you
because
this one?
now we're talking about like I feel that you're saying that Tunisia is returning back to authoritarianism. So do you feel that is the case? Because I don't know. Like, we have to explain to our viewers that many opposition leaders have been arrested. Several controversial laws have been decreed, like cherishing the long. I mean, sorry, threatening the long cherished freedom of expression. So is Tunisia now officially back to authoritarianism?
Listen, what's democracy? Let's define democracy, first of all. If you understand what's democracy, you'll automatically understand where we are in Tunisia. So, democracy, I personally see it as, first of all, the rule of people by the people. It's the sovereignty of people, and the people choosing by themselves their social and political contract. However, we need a social and political contract. What's taking place in Tunisia is, let's start with the social and political contract chosen by one person. Mr. Said drafted the social and political contract, for Tunisians. Nobody took part in drafting, this is the most important, the crucial document to be sort of a referee.
Yeah, but
It is
people
our
are
future.
allowing them that. People are
Sorry.
still supporting him. People are still supporting him. So
Uh,
he's in the name of the
listen,
people, especially in the beginning. So
listen, listen.
how can you explain that? Is he a populist?
Tasnim, some people maybe, some people, because listen, the situation is very complicated and complex as well. Mr. Said is not alone. First of all, Mr. Said, I mean, the coup. Nobody is able to go in a coup or to make a coup d'état just by himself. He has no
So what do you
party.
mean is
He
not
has no.
alone? Like foreign intervenants or like local
Uh,
people?
I dare not say foreign. I mean, those who have interest in Tunisia, that democracy does not deliver, that democracy does not succeed, are now turning. Those who do not believe in representative democracy, those who do not believe in pluralism, those who do not believe in dialogue, are now, let's say, supporting Mr. Said. And we saw here extremists. I can tell you, leftists from the extreme left are supporting him, and they are saying this. I mean, in publicly. Some also extreme nationalist factions also, who unfortunately they profited from democracy, but now, and they were parts of the political scene, and they were parts of the governments and parts of the parliament, but now they are cursing democracy with Mr. Said. And these are the belt. They constitute the belt of Mr. Said. Mr. Said has a belt, okay, has among the elite a very limited belt, but also there are people who still believe, not many of them, who still believe that maybe he can bring hope. But this category of people are decreasing bit by bit. So
Mhm.
people who supported him in 2021, July 2021, until the end of 2021, they keep changing their minds, and we saw many of them renouncing to his support or changing their opinion simply because they are seeing things are getting worse and worse in Tunisia.
You mean socioeconomically things are deteriorating?
Politically, at the level of liberties as well, socioeconomically, and at the level
Or
of liberties.
is
Now,
there a
now,
crisis? So as far as liberties are concerned, that's like a fact. But as far as
yes,
socioeconomically,
now,
um,
let
uh,
your audience know, Mrs. Idriss, that Tunisians now, they are no more free to express their opinion the way they used to be before. That's very important, even on the social networks, on the media,
mhm,
especially. And we saw people suited and tried in military courses simply because they expressed their opinion vis-a-vis
mhm,
of the coup. So this is something, I guess, is very important. In addition, of course, and this is here the important, if people supported Mr. Said in July 2021, that's because they hoped for he will bring prosperity, which they didn't see for the last few years, which they think democracy was unable to bring to them, was unable to deliver socially and economically. However,
mhm,
now 1 year and a half, and we still can't see anything. Not even that. Things are getting worse. We have never had such food shortages or such fuel shortages.
okay.
The way we see nowadays in Tunisia, we have never
Are
had. I
prices
mean,
going up?
the purchasing ability of citizens is getting down and down and down. The
Isn't that
inflation.
international? Isn't that normal in the entire world because of the war in Ukraine? Because that's what people are saying.
Certainly, Tasnim, the international and the external factor plays a very important role, and that's in every other country. But the problem is that now, with the rulers, the new rulers after the coup, the socio-economic question is not their priority. You cannot see people, for example, coming together, sitting together, looking for solutions,
Exactly. I
having a
wanted to ask
dialogue.
you. I wanted to ask you about the opposition parties. Are they likely to unite and found a kind of front to oppose and confront President Qais Said, or are they too busy, with their internal, divides? Like, do you see any hope in the opposition?
Unfortunately, at the moment, with the present situation, I can't see any big hope here. Yes, there is opposition. At the beginning, they tried, and maybe they believed they could do something. But as I told you, I will come back to the opposition. As I told you, they thought the coup was something. Mr. Said, maybe they were able to change the balance or the balance of power. But as I told you, Mr. Said is not alone. Mr. Zayed is backed by lots of forces. I mean, political and by security as well.
Okay.
Yes, so it's not as easy as that. This is something maybe the opposition they became aware of as time goes by. The problem with the opposition is that, this is my opinion, of course, they were
Yes.
unable to get together. Maybe they have the same opinion, but they are not in a front. We cannot talk of a front, Tasnim. What is a front? A front is when you are able to bring together people of different opinions together in one political and field body and entity which is able to act and to react and to
Just
take
like what
decisions.
happened before in the revolution in 2011, because it happened
Yeah,
again.
no,
What it happened before? Why doesn't it happen again? What's the difference?
the difference is that calculations. I mean, there are, unfortunately, the political class or the political actors in Tunisia are unable to make a sort of auto-critique, okay? So they are unable to see who was wrong. All of them were wrong, opposition and people in power, but all of them, they are kind of responsibilizing the other. Okay, so
Mhm.
now the opposition is divided between what you call the parties, the social democratic parties, and the front of salvation, national
Mhm.
salvation. Although yet Tasnim, they have the same attitude. They are opposing the coup, Mr. Said. However, they are unable to come, for example, in one and unique and united action in the street or in the media. And this is, I think, very. That's why they were unable to
So,
act collectively against the coup. They
so is
keep
it a
blaming
problem
each
of
other.
ideology, like clashing ideologies that
Uh,
did not enable
uh,
them to work together?
No, I would say much more political. They keep blaming, for example, in Nahda and those who are pro Nahda to be responsible, and they keep refusing to get in the same front where Nahda is a member. So that's a problem. And Nahda itself is unable to make its critique, its auto critique. It's unable to change its leaders, its discourse.
Yeah.
So all of them, not only Nahda, all of them are unable, but especially Nahda, because Nahda has always been a major political player in the scene,
Hmm.
and Nahda was asked time and again to renew to renew itself, to renew its leadership, to renew
Yeah.
its to make revisions, to say to people, yes, at a given moment, I and others as well made mistakes. Unable, this class, including in Nahda, up to now, they are unable to communicate with people and to come to people with a different message, with a different discourse, with different people, different characters and personalities.
So judging from what you're saying, there's no hope in the opposition or the political parties.
at the
What
given
about
at the given moment, maybe in the future, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, right
Maybe
now,
if
yeah, right now as we're speaking.
maybe
But
yes,
what
yes.
about the role of civil society in Tunisia or the international community? Are they willing to make things change, or does the status quo just suit
Let
them?
me start. Let me start with the international community. What I do believe is the international community looks for its interest. I have been asked time and again when I traveled before the coup. to the West especially, and they are telling me, they asked me, do Westerners or does the West really want democracy to succeed in the Arab countries, and particularly in Tunisia, because Tunisia was the only between inverted commas successful case. And I used to say, if they want, yes, but what they want is their interests. What they want is a stable regime. It could be a hybrid regime with procedural, with a democracy, with elections every time and again, but also with a president like Mr. Sayed, if he is able to keep stability in the country. So what's wrong with him? So with the international community, I think what matters for them is stability. Is no more illicit or illegitimate immigration to Europe. Is no more
happening. The immigration illegal immigration is actually skyrocketing.
Yeah. But that's the paradox, you know. No more terrorism, no more. If Saeed, although he is not Democrat and he's authoritarian and he's heading towards a dictatorship, no matter, providing he provides stability, and but that's the question: is he really gonna provide stability for civil society? For civil society, I think before 2019 they were very active. We used to, I myself, I was very proud of Tunisia having such a solid civil society. Unfortunately, after the coup, what appeared, what is that the civil society organization was very much politicized. They were very politicized. I can give you an example. At the beginning of the coup, let's say the first 3 or 4 months, I had some statistics with 70 or among 70 NGOs defending liberties and let's say individual and collective liberties and freedoms. Only 7 were against the coup. Only 7 were against the coup. The UGTT, which is the general trade unions, the most important one, which is, if you can call it also civil society, also before 2019, he was very much implicated in politics, and he was a decision maker. I would say he was. It was a decision maker. Its leadership was, but after the coup, they kind of kept silent, and from time to time
everybody was testing waters, because we did not know the real intentions of because nobody has ever thought of a presidential coup. Like, it was new, so that's why people did not know.
That could have been said at the beginning. In the first few months, there were people who said that. They would say, okay, let's see, maybe he's bringing something different. But as time passes and goes by, normally any politician, normally politicians, Miss Tasnim, should have a vision, should be visionary. Yes, visionary. If politicians, including me, if we were unable to see far away, further, to see what is coming, to see that the election of Mr. Saeed, this man who knows nothing of politics, who is anonymous, who nobody knows him, who is not really something. So maybe this at the beginning could be justified, but now it's almost 1.5 years with nothing changing.
You're making it difficult for me now, but my last question would be, how can you see the future of democracy, if there is any future for democracy in Tunisia? Like, do you have any vision?
Listen, Tasneem, I, as a politician, I and politicians in general, they would never give up. I would never give up. I will never give up.
In what sense?
Especially those who tested. I lived under Ben Ali's dictatorship and Bourguiba's dictatorship as well, and I have never given up. I have never given up. And there are people who have never given up. So let alone now we tasted democracy and liberty. We knew what it looks like, what it tastes. So how would you like me to give up? We will never give up. I know, as I told you, that the situation is difficult and things are getting harder and harder. But I think defenders of democracy and liberties will never give up.
Okay.
At the a short term, I can't
It's too
see
gloomy.
any. I can see any exits, for what's going on. At least in the short term. However, people should continue working the way we did, the way we militated, the way we
Yeah.
struggled under Ben Ali. That's it.
Okay, great. At least a message of hope towards the end of the session. I hope that our viewers benefited from this discussion, especially those who live far away from Tunisia and are interested in what's happening, because Tunisia has always been like a token of hope. And now things are different, so we hope that things will return back to better than they used to be. Thank you very much, Miss Amel, for this session. I hope that you will be my guest again in the
Thank you.
ILN talk show.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everyone who took the time to listen to us and watch us. And see you soon next time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Tasnim. Bye.
Bye.